who are considered some of the worst country presidents in the world, and what factors contribute to their controversial reputations. In today's video, we explore the harsh truth of leaders who went astray. These figures, often linked with controversy and criticism, have left lasting impacts on their countries. From corruption to oppression, their legacies are stained with difficulties and conflicts. Join us as we examine the turbulent rule of some of the world's least effective presidents. But before continue, we would like you guys to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell icon so you do not miss out on any amazing and entertaining content. Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe was the leader of Zimbabwe for a long time, and people have different opinions about him. At first, he was seen as a hero for helping Zimbabwe become independent. But as time went on, some say he became too controlling, got involved in corruption, and didn't manage the country's money well. During his rule, Zimbabwe faced a lot of problems like prices going up a lot, many people becoming poor, and the government being strict. Mugabe's plans to change who owned the land, taking it from white farmers and giving it to black Zimbabweans, got criticized for making the country's money problems worse and hurting farming. His government was also accused of doing bad things to people, like rigging elections, stopping people from disagreeing, and using force against those who opposed them. After Mugabe's time as leader, the country was left with a lot of different opinions about the effects of his leadership. Bashar al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad has been Syria's leader since 2000, and his time in charge has been marked by a very bad war. People initially thought he might bring positive changes, but now he's known for being harsh, stopping freedoms, and doing terrible things in the war. The Syrian civil war started in 2011 during protests, causing many deaths and making people leave their homes. Assad's government is blamed for using chemicals against regular people, bombing where normal people live, and treating political prisoners very badly. Even though many countries have said he's doing wrong and asked him to quit, Assad keeps going with help from friends like Russia and Iran. The war has caused more problems, made the area unstable, and created a big disaster for people who live there. Assad's time leading has caused a lot of damage and pain, and it doesn't seem like the war will stop soon. Nicolas Maduro. Nicolas Maduro became the president of Venezuela in 2013 after Hugo Chavez passed away. However, his time leading has been really tough for the country. Venezuela has had big economic problems, not enough food and medicine, and many people leaving because things are so hard. Maduro's government is said to do bad things like arresting people for no reason, stopping free speech, and being harsh on anyone who disagrees. Even though many countries have said he's doing wrong and put sanctions on Venezuela, Maduro still stays in power. People also say his government is involved in corruption and drugs, making Venezuela's problems even worse. The country that used to be rich is now struggling a lot, and the people there are having a tough time because of poverty and problems with the government, and things don't look like they'll get better soon under Maduro's leadership. Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un, North Korea's leader since 2011, continues a strict regime like those before him. The country faces ongoing human rights problems, including arrests, labor camps, and limits on free speech and movement. Kim's focus on nuclear weapons causes tension with the world, leading to sanctions and isolation. Despite meetings with world leaders, life for regular North Koreans doesn't seem to improve much. Sanctions and poor management make the economy struggle, while the ruling elite enjoys luxury. Dissent is met with punishment, and loyalty to the regime is vital. Under Kim Jong-un, North Korea remains reclusive and oppressive. Alexander Lukashenko. Alexander Lukashenko, often called Europe's last dictator, has ruled Belarus since 1994 with strict control. His presidency is marked by authoritarianism, repression, and stifling dissent. Lukashenko is accused of election rigging, silencing opposition, and limiting press freedom through censorship. Activists and journalists face harassment and arrest, with the 2020 election sparking protests met with a violent crackdown. Despite global criticism and sanctions, Lukashenko holds onto power, supported by Russia. Belarus's economy suffers under state control, and its people face political oppression and economic challenges. Lukashenko's grip remains strong, leaving little room for democratic change and an uncertain future for Belarus. Idi Amin. Idi Amin, Uganda's president from 1971 to 1979, is known for being one of Africa's most brutal dictators. His regime saw widespread human rights abuses, political repression, and economic mismanagement. Amin seized power through a military coup, initiating a reign of terror marked by arbitrary arrests, torture, and killings of political opponents and minorities. Expelling Uganda's Asian minority in 1972 worsened economic decline and social unrest. Amin's eccentric behavior and grandiose claims strained international relations. His rule caused lasting trauma and division, with estimates suggesting hundreds of thousands were killed. Although ousted from power, Uganda still grapples with the painful legacy of Amin's brutal dictatorship. Ferdinand Marcos. Ferdinand Marcos, the Philippines president from 1965 to 1986, is a controversial and authoritarian figure in its history. He declared martial law in 1972, suspending civil liberties and concentrating power in the executive branch. His rule involved human rights abuses, corruption, and economic struggles. Marcos amassed wealth through corruption, while the economy stagnated. The assassination of Benigno Aquino Jr. in 1983 led to protests, culminating in the 1986 People Power Revolution, forcing Marcos into exile. His dictatorship left a legacy of repression, corruption, and inequality in Philippine society. Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez, who served as the president of Venezuela from 1999 until his death in 2013, continues to be a polarizing and extensively debated figure. Emerging on the political scene with promises of significant social reforms and wealth redistribution, Chavez's presidency was characterized by the introduction of populist policies collectively known as Chavismo. These policies included the nationalization of key industries, the expansion of social welfare programs, and a distinct focus on anti-imperialist rhetoric. Chavez's leadership had a profound impact on Venezuela's socio-political landscape, with supporters lauding his efforts to address social inequalities, while critics pointed to economic challenges and concerns over democratic institutions. The ongoing discussions surrounding his legacy reflect the complex and multifaceted nature of his time in office. While Chavez was widely popular among Venezuela's poorer communities, critics argue that his policies led to economic challenges, corruption, and a decline in democratic institutions. Despite Venezuela's substantial oil wealth, Chavez struggled to diversify the economy, relying heavily on oil revenues and facing vulnerability to global oil price fluctuations. Chavez's era witnessed increased political polarization with intensified crackdowns on dissent and media control. Allegations of electoral irregularities and human rights abuses, such as suppressing opposition protests, surrounded his government. Chavez's presidency set the stage for Nicolas Maduro, who inherited a deeply divided nation dealing with economic collapse, hyperinflation, and a humanitarian crisis. While some hail Chavez as an advocate for social justice and anti-imperialism, others criticize his authoritarian tendencies and the lasting impact of corruption and economic instability in Venezuela. Thank you for watching our exploration of some of the world's most controversial leaders. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content like this.